is I really wish Baz would have just eaten just half a slice of humble pie and not be so intense with his style. I would appreciate it to linger a little slower during the story.
I don't think it's hard for, for a person to just sit and watch the movie and experience that kind of chaos and understand what's going on.
Was Baz Luhrmann the wrong director for Elvis? That is the question that I myself am going to be answering along with Wyatt. We're going to be, we just watched the film, all right? We went to the theaters this past weekend. We enjoyed it, we'll say that. And we have some thoughts. We have some opinions that we're going to try to lay out for you here in this video. So the first thing I want to say is that Baz has an incredibly unique filming style. Is it wrong? No. Is it correct? Not necessarily. Is it a creative choice? Absolutely. However, I would say the population is kind of split on, do you like his style of filmmaking? Do you like his style of storytelling? Visually, auditorily, pacing-wise, the edit. Everything is super unique to Baz, and he's been doing this for years. I remember with Moulin Rouge, the first time I watched it, I thought, this is not for me. And I'm not trying to bring any prejudice to this video because I actually thought that Elvis was a bit scaled back from Moulin Rouge. It was like, Moulin Rouge was a lot more intense visually. I will say, to let you know my opinion, Moulin Rouge I did not enjoy that much. And it was the editing, it was the pacing of the film, and it was the camera work, the effects that he does, all of his transitions and stuff. So with that thought, was he the correct or the incorrect directing choice for this film? Wyatt, what is your initial thoughts here?
Can I give you my answer?
Go ahead.
All right. My answer is yes.
Okay.
He is or the question is he the wrong?
Is he the wrong one? Is he the wrong director?
No. I would say he was the right director.
Okay.
Now we can end the video. We're done. No. I have a lot of buts in that in that answer. But I think his specific style lends itself well to how this film was supposed to feel.
Okay.
Right? It's supposed to feel kind of chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to feel... It's supposed to have a pace that's... Jarring. It's supposed to have... Even some of the... I would say some of the choices with the, editing or camera switching, right?
Just the pacing of the film.
Yeah, I think that stuff, even that stuff worked well. There was only, I think, one or two moments where I was really like, oh, that was a little bit, they just cut that.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, they were done with that scene. They cut that. He made a decision. We need to move on.
I'll say this. The first half of the film, I was like, this is pretty fun. Like, the moments that are supposed to feel chaotic, the moments like when he's performing, the intensity behind the performance of Austin Butler, the pacing that Baz laid out for those moments was very well done. I mean, it was. But I will say, once we got to later in his life, I felt like about 2 hours in, I was like, when is this movie going to end? And we still had another 30 minutes to go. To be honest, the end of the film was the most powerful, in my opinion, for the whole thing. I mean, it really wrapped up this very fascinating message. However, that 20-minute purgatory period of the film, the last 20 minutes before the very end, just was sluggish. You're losing interest, honestly. You've been sitting down for 2.5 hours, and you are wanting to see where this story is taking you. And I know we don't really want to rush the story of Elvis. We don't want to rush the importance that such a loyal audience has for this man. But I will say, Wyatt said he was the right choice. This is what I'm going to say. I think it was a perfect Baz interpretation. In my opinion, I would like to see. So overall, I'm not being influenced by other people's reviews. It's kind of split. Some people say everybody across the board loves Austin Butler, but a lot of people are like, I don't care for Baz's portrayal. The pacing was off. He kind of ignored parts of Elvis's life that could have been highlighted more, and he kind of lingered too long on stuff that didn't really matter as much, like the whole Christmas thing that they spent like, I don't know, felt like an hour and a half on the Christmas thing.
I'll say, like, the Christmas stuff felt long to me. Everything after the Christmas stuff, I didn't feel that kind of 20 minutes of void. Mm-hmm. All of that was interesting because it felt like the entire movie was kind of leading up to those moments specifically. Mm-hmm. Everything after the Elvis's 1970 something comeback.
Yes.
Everything that happens up to that point is leading to these tense moments that they have. Yeah. And in fact, the beginning, the middle, and the end, the pacing all kind of worked for me except for that specific part with the Christmas stuff. Mm-hmm.
I would say this, because I want to present the other half of my brain mm-hmm. here. So this is kind of the first big Elvis biopic film that we've seen in modern history, okay? This is the big comeback for the King of Rock. This is the big, like, all of these super intense music fans of all generations are excited to see mm-hmm. Elvis coming back, you know? And in my opinion, I don't feel like this was the best portrayal of it. And the big part of that is because of Baz's filming style and his editing style. I think in some ways, Baz was trying to visually and storytelling-wise steal the show from the story of Elvis a little bit. And because if you think about it, Baz is an artist. He's got this persona of him being an artist. He's going to show off his artistry and his view and vision of how storytelling goes, how the world looks. So that comes across. But, like, there were so many shots that visually I was just admiring, but we only stayed on for like 3 seconds. Literally like 3 seconds, and we didn't go back to it because everything is so fast-paced. And it's kind of a flex. In the filmmaking world, it takes a lot of time to film so many great-looking shots and angles and options for the editing room. And to move through them so quickly, it's kind of an artistic flex in some ways, but you almost don't need that because I'm constantly being pulled out of the emotion of the moment. Because one moment we have this building of emotion for characters like Elvis, and then we cut away and it's a new emotion because the pacing just felt off.
I can agree with that. I can see where the idea of the director being, maybe a bit pretentious or mm-hmm. doing this because it's his craft. Mm-hmm. I've always had issues with a lot of directors like that. But the only areas I saw that in a major way, as a kind of average, mm-hmm. Basically average moviegoer. Yeah. As far as like viewing, what looks good edit wise and what looks good, visually. I mean, that's more your thing. The only thing I felt that was a little bit too director art. Yeah. Were the beginning with Colonel Tom Parker, Tom Hanks's character. Yeah. The kind of revolving, international hotel. Like I knew what he's doing. Yes. And the monologue over top at the beginning feels very jarring, and I don't like it, and I don't enjoy it. It's not until we get to Tom Parker observing Elvis that it feels like the Elvis movie. And from then on, for the most part, it's all... I enjoyed all of it pretty well. Okay. But anytime, like... Anytime they kind of flash the Colonel like walking through the casino, that felt
Out of place.
Out of place. I'm fine with a little bit of monologue.
Yeah.
But that did feel out of place.
I'll say this. I want to just quickly bring up the Colonel, and I want to bring up Austin Butler. Let's start on Austin. I want to just say, across the board, Austin is loved for playing Elvis. His portrayal is overwhelmingly appreciated. His dedication to the role was really well done, and there's very few people that are upset at it. Mm-hmm. So I agree with them. I think Austin, no problems there. Tom Hanks as the Colonel, I think he did as good of a job as anybody could do with the story and the script that was given to them.
And the information.
Yeah, and the information.
The Colonel is a very kind of background character in Elvis's life. There's not a ton of information, where Austin Butler had, he spent 2 years just studying Elvis. Yes. He had movies, he had, recordings, he had, the live shows, the tracks, everything.
Yeah.
That he had to sift through and go through.
For sure.
There wasn't nearly as much for Tom Hanks.
Not at all. I think
so
if I was to make the two big critiques for this film, it would be, I wish they wouldn't have leaned so heavily into the Colonel telling the story. I wish they would have crafted the script a little differently. Not that it was wrong, not that storytelling-wise there was necessarily a problem with it, but I would have seriously cut down on the focus on the Colonel. In some parts of the film, it feels like he's the main character more than Elvis. And I didn't necessarily care for that. And that's kind of what I get the feeling that a lot of people feel towards this film. And the other thing is, I really wish Baz would have just eaten just half a slice of humble pie and not be so intense with his style. I would appreciate it to linger a little slower during the story, because it's like flashing lights, quick transitions. He's performing here, a woman screaming there. He's, in the military, and then he's not in the military anymore. It's this constant moving of the film and storytelling that just felt far too cluttered. And you have to really pay attention. We always talk about don't insult the intelligence of the audience. I will have to give this to Baz. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss something. So at least he's not insulting.
Here's the thing. I'm going to kind of go back to my earlier statement. That's the life of a rock star.
Yeah.
And that's the life. It's chaos.
Which would be fine if he specifically designed that style for this film. But that's just Baz's style.
But I feel like it works.
So that's why you think he was chosen.
I watched the movie and I felt like I could understand the movie. It wasn't hard. If you're watching the movie, you're paying attention for the most part. I don't think it's hard for a person to just sit and watch the movie and experience that kind of chaos and understand what's going on.
Okay.
It was a chaotic life. He was the most famous person, definitely in America, and perhaps on Earth for a time.
Yeah,
I think Baz did a good job.
Okay,
I don't know that another director could have captured the chaos.
So to close out this video, we have Wyatt saying he was the right choice. I'm saying if you enjoy Baz's films, he's a great choice. There's not something necessarily wrong with it. If you're not a fan of Baz, you can enjoy the film, and you're probably also going to feel a little bit annoyed with it, the pace of the story. And I personally think he was not the wrong director, but I like the fact that maybe we'll get to see a different style of filmmaking tell Elvis's story in the future. And so that's why this Baz Luhrmann's Elvis can be what it is, and then maybe we'll see another version of Elvis in the future. Let us know what you think in the comments. We really appreciate you watching. If you want to hear a review of the film with myself at length, an actual in-depth review. We have myself, Wyatt, and my brother Joshua on the Wiseworks podcast that's going to be coming out in like a couple weeks, where we're going to give a full review of Elvis at length, full of spoilers, and enjoy our thoughts there. So go check out Wiseworks podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or other audio podcast platforms. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you, Wyatt, sir,
Of
for
course.
manning the table there, and we'll see you guys in the next video.